Well, I don't eat eggs either. No, my family doesn't. The idea that eggs were the ideal protein stems from rat experiments. And they found that baby rats, prospered when they were fed eggs. And so they sort of made the assumption from that. This is originally in the research. A lot has been done since, but that was how it first got started. It turns out that a baby rat's needs are so different than a human baby's needs. Rat mother's milk is about 45% protein. A human mother's milk is about 8% protein. It's not really a comparable food. And I look at the constituency of human breast milk as nature's answer to the question of what is the ideal food for a human baby. I don't look to what makes a rat grow the fastest. I look at what will help a human being thrive. And it's obviously human breast milk for a human infant. What we've learned since in medical science is that the need for animal protein was vastly exaggerated because many of the studies were done funded by the animal product industries. The National Dairy Council, the Egg Board, the Meat Board, the National Cattlemen's Association. There's a whole slew of industry groups that profit from people thinking they need to eat their products to get adequate protein. Plant-based proteins are more than adequate. They are excellent. And they don't come along with the saturated fat and the cholesterol and these other things that the animal proteins come with that do us such damage. If you want to have a lean, fit, thriving body that operates on all cylinders, gives you the most mental clarity, the most emotional serenity, gives you the most physical strength and the strongest immune system, eat a plant-based diet. You don't need eggs for protein. You don't need meat for protein. I cannot tell you how many times people have said to me, "You're a vegetarian? Where do you get your protein?" Well, I get it from plants. I get it from beans. I get it from seeds and nuts. I get it from whole grains. I get it from vegetables. Because I don't fill my diet with a bunch of junk food, and I don't fill my diet with a bunch of sugar and white flour and things like that. I make every calorie count. I don't have a lot of wasted empty calories in my diet that I consume. So therefore, the protein percentage doesn't have to be so high in the calories. If the calories you're eating most of them are junk and empty, then the few remaining ones that have any nutrition better be solid protein for you to get enough. But if all your foods are good, then the protein comes from all the foods that you don't have to say, "Oh, there's where I get my protein." I'm getting it from all of the foods that I eat. There's good protein in whole grains and in fresh vegetables, and certainly in beans and in soy products.
John, you walked away from a very large empire of the Baskin and Robbins kingdom. For the viewers that may not know, Baskin and Robbins is the largest ice cream chain in the world, and there's some more than 5,000 stores worldwide, and it's strong promotion of 31 flavors of ice cream. Your father and your uncle had begun this business, and you were not a fan of ice cream.
Well, I was. I grew up as a child being groomed to succeed my father. I'm an only son, and I don't have brothers, so it was expected that I would one day follow in his footsteps. He owned and ran the world's largest ice cream company, a multi-billion-dollar company. And he owned it along with my uncle. My uncle died of a heart attack in his early 50s. Very large man who ate a lot of ice cream, as we all did. And he, when he died, I asked my dad, "Do you think there could be any connection between my uncle's fatal heart attack and the amount of ice cream that he would eat?" And my dad froze and looked at me and said, "His ticker just got tired and stopped working." And I saw the denial in my dad's face, and I realized why he would need to block that. Because he had, by this time, manufactured and sold more ice cream than any other human being who has ever lived on this planet. He did not want to think that that product was hurting anybody, much less that it might have played a role in his beloved brother-in-law and partner's death. But the reality is that the more ice cream you eat, the more likely you are to have a heart attack. Also, the more likely you are to get diabetes, and my father developed very serious diabetes. And it's not just Baskin and Robbins. In the United States, another very large ice cream chain is Ben & Jerry's. And Ben Cohen was the co-founder and co-owner of that company for many years. He had a quintuple bypass procedure at the age of 49.
Wow.
That's how ill his cardiovascular system had become. That's how the level of cardiac distress he was in. And he also is a heavy-set fellow who ate a lot of ice cream. I'm not saying an ice cream cone is going to kill anybody, but I did not want to be selling a product that the more you ate of it, the more you consumed of it, the more you bought of it, and therefore the wealthier I would be, the sicker you would be. I didn't want that on my conscience. And I wanted instead to shape my life such that I could be a vehicle for more healing and more compassion in the world. And although I was offered the opportunity to be extraordinarily wealthy, as my father is, I walked away from that entirely, and I told him I don't want a trust fund, I don't want an inheritance, I don't want to live off of your fortune, because I want to seek my own values, and I want to live completely congruent with them. And I want to find my own powers and my own path in life, and I want to follow the divine call that I feel. I don't know where it will lead. I was a young man who would know. I couldn't say to him, well, I'm going to write books that are going to be nominated for Pulitzer Prizes and become bestsellers. Who knew that that would occur? I only knew that I had a commitment within myself, a conviction, and that I had to be part of making the world a better place for all of life, and selling ice cream just didn't fit with that. So I walked away from it, and I made a choice for integrity. And it was not a choice my parents felt real happy about. There was alienation as a result of it, although a lot of that's been healed in subsequent years. And the reality is that although I don't have anything like the financial wealth I would have had, if I had stayed with Baskin-Robbins, I have an inner wealth that comes from knowing that my life is in alignment with my heart. And I think that's priceless.
I also wanted to congratulate you on the Shining World Leadership Award for Humanitarianism from Supreme Master Ching Hai. She was very excited and impressed with the nobility you demonstrated in walking away from what could have been a very wealthy, kind of made-for-you lifestyle in the name of your values and your choices.
Well, I did it in the name of all of our aspirations for a humane and sustainable world. It wasn't just for me. It really was for the planet and for all of us who are striving and aspiring towards creating a spiritually fulfilling and socially just and environmentally sustainable human presence on this planet.
Thank you so much for your work, because I read that a couple of years after Diet for a New America came out, beef sales in the U.S. dropped by almost 20%.
20%, yes, and then 5 years after.
And hence there's been Howard Lyman and a number of other activists that have brought out the terrors of what goes on in the beef industry. So I think it's interesting to see the ripple effect.
Yes.
20 years later.
Well, and you can translate that 20% reduction in beef consumption into how many fewer heart attacks occurred, how many fewer cases of cancer occurred, how much less diabetes there was. Not that these epidemics aren't still major issues, but they have been to a degree ameliorated by that reduction. You can also translate it into how many square miles of tropical rainforest are still standing that would otherwise have been destroyed, how many species are still with us that would have otherwise been extinguished, how much less water pollution we have to deal with, how much less greenhouse gases, fewer greenhouse gases are in our atmosphere as a result of that reduction. We're still trashing the environment, but this was a big step, and I will feel fulfilled only when that it is a step that many other people take, and we continue on that path, because the day that slaughterhouses are a memory, the day that world hunger is a memory, the day that environmental destruction is a memory, will be the day that I rejoice.
So my last question to you on that note is, in terms of your own spiritual motivation in life. We all meditate in our association, but a lot of people have different forms of their practice. What is your secret to success and spiritual harmony?
Well, I meditate also. And I do everything I can to quiet my mind and open my heart and to be fully present and attuned to the higher wisdom of life and the instinct for goodness and wellness in everyone I meet. I want to respond to it, I want to welcome it, I want to honor it. I think that there is some good in everybody. And if I can look for that, and I can be a place in which that their own spirit, their own joy, their own sense of contribution and gifts and can come forward, then I'm happy.